Hey, Candice. All right, how you doing? I've got your work up. Let's go ahead and take a look. So I think everything is making really good sense in your writing here. Let me just move this over into the window. Everything makes really good sense up until the leave behind piece. Doing a brand. The leave behind gifts after researching different ideas are based on the thought of getting to know the client during the branding process and leaving gifts that they have personally expressed with passion. In this case, I chose branding. Personally, work with my gray paws to represent a leave behind gift. I think there's some confusion as to the leave behind. The leave behind, you don't leave a leave behind with a client. You leave the leave behind with a potential hiring professional. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not to say you can't leave a leave behind with a client. You can, but it's more, the leave behind is more designed to, it's something that reinforces your branding, that you leave with the person who interviews you as a kind of a reminder of you after the interview is over. Okay, so I'm really confused about the leave behind. Number one, I'm not real sure if there's a firm understanding of the function of a leave behind. Number two, there's some confusing elements in the leave behind. I'll address that in 1 second. Um, but also we say the leave behind is based on my research on Behance that showed that an example of a box that has unique items based on the client's interest. Again, you're talking about the client here, but the leave behind is meant for the person who interviews you, not the client. So you're saying it's based on their interest. You don't know the interests of the person who's about to interview, so you can't possibly, do you see what I'm saying? And I don't mean to sound discouraging. I really don't at all. I just want you to really understand what I'm saying. So you wouldn't know the person's interests. So to try to assemble a leave behind that is associated with their interests, it just, the connection's not there. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, and then you talk a little bit more about the leave behind, and you talk about the dog drive and gray paws. And this is really, really diluting your branding approach. And I'll talk about that in a second. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. So let's start with the business card. I think the business card is good. It's really interesting. I really do. I think it's very, very interesting. I think it's fun. It's inviting. If one thing I would say is it's lacking just a little bit in contrast. You may consider darkening your branding green just a little bit, or darkening at least the information here. You don't have to use this big word contact there. I don't. I mean, you're more than welcome to, but so let me tell you on the business card. You want the following on your business card. You want your logo on the business card. You want your name. So you've got that. You got your logo. You want your address. Your mailing address is optional, but recommended. I keep mine on mine, so I think that's a good idea. Your email address. You've got that, and then your job title. You've got that, and then your web page URL. Got to get web page URL on there, and then your LinkedIn page, if applicable, or whatever the link to your social media is. Okay, so that's good. Good job with the image. I think that's good. I think everything's really interesting here. Good job. Now let's go from the to the letterhead, which is up here. Here it is. Again, the letterhead, I think, and I want to get that business card here so we can kind of make some comparisons. Let me just move this over. Okay, so the letterhead looks like a good adaptation of the business card. That's good. Okay, graphic design. Okay, so in the letterhead, you want to include the following. You want your name, your logo. Got it. Your mailing address has got to be on the letterhead. Got to be. That's required. I mean, I highly, highly recommend doing that. Telephone, fax, and or cell. Then your email address and your web URL. So we got to get that on there. Right now, you've got your email, no web URL, and no. Oh, there's your return address. Okay, there it is. Okay, one thing I want to see here. Okay, these have been distorted a little bit, these icons at the bottom of the page. We can see it right here. See how these are kind of oval in shape? But if we look at the business card, they're circular. So somehow those have been distorted upon placement. You'll want to check that. Make sure you get your return mailing address on there. Otherwise, I think that looks good. Okay, so That covers the business card and the letterhead. Now, I don't know if you've elected to design a number 10 envelope. I highly recommend, it's not required, but highly recommended. It'll fit right in with your suite. Really easy to design. Just all you really have to do is just look up the dimensions of a number 10 envelope. And then I've also included some resources in the class on how to design an envelope. It's pretty easy. I would recommend that. Now let's go to your leave behind. And Candice, as I said before, the lack, I don't want to sound like I'm discouraging, but I do want to talk about your leave behind extensively, actually. Okay, so here's what we have. We have that. We talked about the letterhead. We got that. We talked about the business card. So all we have is the leave behind pieces. So I think the box with the label, that's a good idea. I mean, it's a good leave behind. It's the contents of the leave behind that I'm a little more concerned about. So as we jump in, we see we have D clips for dogs. We have gray paws. We have this dog is the only thing. Woof, 10 letterhead note cards to have to do with dogs. Over here are some dog stickers, it looks like. So what if you're, I think I mentioned this before, but what if the recipient doesn't like dogs? I mean, that's detrimental. I mean, it really is. I mean, suppose you have a situation where the person who's interviewing you has, and I'm just going to be hypothetical here, but things like this happen all the time. The person who you interview has a situation, or who interviews you has a situation where, let's say, maybe one of their children has been recently attacked by a dog. Okay, and so there, let's say it happens, and then they get this branding package. It has to do with all this stuff with dogs. It's going to create a negative connotation. So I do not recommend this approach. I would recommend, Candice, that you rethink your leave behind package, or at least the contents of the leave behind package, to maybe more use some things in the package that the person will definitely use, and that doesn't even point to any sort of specific special interest, just in case the person doesn't have that common interest. Okay, so something you could include in the small box would be maybe a pen and pencil set. Maybe some kind of a desk set. Okay, so you would have a set of Post-it notes, a pen and pencil set, maybe a kneaded eraser, a box of paper clips, and all of this would have your branding on it. So you got a box of paper clips. There's a little sticker with your logo and your URL, right? And then you have a pen and pencil set. They would have your logo stamped on them, and they would come in a little box that you have designed and branded, and that all would come. And then, whatever other things, pen and pencil set, an eraser. I mean, maybe even I don't know, maybe a coaster for the coffee with your branding information on it. Do you see what I'm saying? That this all points to things that are common, that will likely be used. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's really, really important. So my recommendation, Candice, is to rethink the contents of your packet, of your leave behind package. And I think other than that, your branding package is coming along beautifully. Think about that number 10 envelope in there. Other than that, I think everything's coming along beautifully. I think right now the weak link in the chain is your leave behind piece, as it kind of dilutes your branding attempts a little bit. Okay, so 9 minutes. Sorry, didn't mean to take that. It's trying to be as clear as I can on this. So if you have any questions at all, Candice, please let me know. I'll be glad to make any necessary clarifications. Thank you very much.